Hey everybody, and welcome back to Starcraft Solo 101. You are on Chapter 6, where we're going to talk all about cut settings. This is definitely the important video that you want to watch to learn really how to make sure you're going to get the best cut settings with your machine. I'm going to show you a couple little tips and tricks on how to set your own settings, how to do some test cutting, and how to make sure that you've got the right setting for your material. So let's get started. If you want to save a cut setting in your Starcraft Create software, all you need to do is click the word Create. And what I like to do is I'm going to switch my pressure up. So I'm going to set this for just cutting plain old HTV. So with this one, I found that the pressure of 40 seemed to work. So what I'm going to do is use this little arrow and change the pressure to 40. And I'm going to put the speed at 6. That seemed to work pretty well. And everything else stays the same. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is press this little plus button, and I can name my settings. So I'm just going to call this HTV, and we're just going to call it Everyday. Because I come from the CRICUT world, my brain is going to think of it as everyday iron-on. So I'm just going to call it Everyday. That way I kind of know that like the stuff that I would normally cut on the CRICUT should cut fine under this setting. Now again, always do a test cut. It's super helpful. You should leave everything else kind of the way you have it and then just click OK. Now if you want to add others, that should be pretty simple to do. So let's go ahead and do one for regular permanent vinyl. So again, all you're going to do is change your pressure setting here with these little dots. You can use the slider bar, but like I find the up and down arrow to be a little more accurate. And then so I change that down to 20, and then I leave it as a speed of 8. So I'm going to go ahead and go up to 8 on that one, and then everything else again just stays the same. So I'm going to go ahead and press the plus button, and I'm going to just call this one Vinyl Permanent, and that way I know that that is my permanent vinyl setting. Click OK, and we are good to go. So you'll see now if you have this drop down menu, you've got a couple of new options. So I have my Vinyl Permanent, my HTV Everyday. I set a glitter HTV, and then I did a cardstock setting as well for this. So you can add your own personal settings. Really, really easy to do. Very simple. There's lots of stuff you can do. But again, doing a test cut really makes a big difference. And I like to make a note, like on a sticky note, as to what settings I used that worked best. And then I add them into my cutter settings. In the Starcraft Create software, we can do a couple things to start testing our cut settings. So number one is we can use a shape from the library. So if you have your library and it's not open, go to Window and just click Library and it will reopen. Now it is recommended to do a cut that maybe has some lines or like an inner space. So I was thinking we could do like this little circle here, because I think that's going to be like really easy to see how well it cuts. Once you're done with your library, you can just close it and get it out of the way. Now, remember, with the Starcraft Solo, it does start cutting down in the lower right-hand corner, so you can just put your circle kind of wherever. Now, if you want to see the size of your circle, all of your position and size are right here over in the panel, which is like this little one with the arrows. It's the position and size panel. If it's not open, you can simply just click on it and it opens. I think a 1-inch circle is probably pretty good to test this, because that center circle is quite a bit smaller. So I'm just going to kind of smack him in the corner there, and that is what we're going to use to do some of our like little testing on some cut settings. So what you can do is you're going to go into your Create button, and there's a couple different things that you can change within this section. You've got a couple different settings. So what you're going to do, this one is cut mode. And this one is the WYSIWG. Basically stands for what you see is what you get. So wherever you place it on your mat is where that is going to cut based on where you place your blade. So you can also use origin point, which that's going to start it in the lower right hand corner. Or you can also choose center point, which basically just sort of, again, it aligns it with the blade. And so if your blade is in the center, it basically centers the image on your blade, if that makes sense. I'll explain it a little bit better when we go over to the machine, so I can kind of show you what I mean by where the blade is set. Because with this machine, we do need to move the blade around on the machine itself. Now, I have created some of those settings that I showed you guys just a little bit ago. So I do have some different custom settings. We've got the vinyl permanent, and then we also can just kind of play with it and make our own setting if we're not sure what it cuts on. But I like to use this vinyl permanent. That's the one I found that worked really well, and it works pretty good. So we're going to do that. Now, I'm going to take you over to the machine, because before you ever click the create button, you need to make sure that you have your machine loaded. It doesn't have the buttons like you were used to on the CRICUT, where you would load the machine and then press the buttons on the machine. Everything is controlled from this screen here. And then I'm also going to show you guys how to use just the test cutting option on your machine, because you do have that built right in, so you don't actually have to work with your computer here. You can actually do everything on your machine and then take that information that you've learned from cutting on your machine to move it over to your software. If you haven't watched the blade installation video, please watch that one first, because you're going to need to install your blade correctly. So now what I'm going to do is take my mat and place it in. Now with this one, you want to place it so most of your material is behind the machine. So this is totally different than what you would do with the CRICUT or the Silhouette. So this is something that you're going to need to get used to. Then you need to pull up the lever in the back. And this is what I was talking about with your blade carrier and where your blade is located on your mat, depending on where your image is going to cut. So if you use center point, the center of your image will be where your blade is on your mat. So with that circle, it's going to cut the very center, and then it'll cut based on that. So where it's sitting right now probably wouldn't fit. You can move your mat and your blade by using these buttons here. We have a fast mode and a slow mode. Slow mode, you can just click that and it should be not filled in. It'll be hollow. And then you can just slowly move your mat in and out. Now, in my opinion, I feel like these buttons are super backwards and it drives me nuts, but I'm sure it'll be something I get used to. So to actually put your mat forward into the machine, you hit the down button. To put your mat closer to yourself, you hit the up button. I feel like it should actually be the way the machine is facing, but that's just me. That's just sort of something that's going to take some getting used to. And then if I wanted to move it quicker, I can just use the buttons in the middle, and you'll see now it'll move quite a bit faster. Now, as for this, which is our blade holder, what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and move this guy a little more over, and again, you can kind of move him however you want, wherever he needs to go, and you can move your mat out or in. So it's really up to you as far as that goes. Now, again, depending on what cut setting you set, whether it's the W1, whether it's center point, or whether it's the other one that is all of a sudden escaping me, it's going to depend on where your image cuts. So I'll take you back over to the computer so that we can hit the create button, and I'll let you guys watch it cut the circle. So like I said, it's going to depend on what you select here in cut mode. So origin point, that's the one that I was thinking of. I actually think I'm going to try center point on this one just to see how that one goes. But you're really going to need to play with this and figure out what works best for you. So I'm going to click the create button, and then you guys will see it cut on the machine. Again, make sure you have your material loaded before you do this. My machine does give me an alarm to let me know that it is cut. So I'm going to go ahead and unload. Hey, look, I pressed the button the right way. That's going to take me a lot of getting used to. But what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to leave it on the mat and in the machine really quick. And I'll move you guys over a little bit and zoom you in. Now that I have you zoomed in a little bit so you can see better, this is where our circle cut. So I'm going to go ahead and weed out the center point first just to see how well it cut. And then I'm going to go ahead and weed out the outside, again, just to kind of see how well it cut. It seems like it cut really, really well on this setting. But one thing I also want to check is my mat under my vinyl. I want to make sure that it didn't cut through my vinyl and that it didn't leave any like marks on my mat. It did leave a little bit of a mark. It seemed like it cut a little bit too deep, to be honest. We do have a little bit, can you see kind of where it's bending right here, that little fold? It did cut a little deep. So if it is cutting a little bit too deep, we can adjust that. I'm going to go ahead and push this mat back in a little bit. And we're going to use the test cutting option. So I'll move you guys so you can see my screen to show you what I'm doing. So you'll see on your control panel that you do have a speed force option. I'm going to click on that. Now you can see that our force is set to 10 and we've got our speed set pretty high. It's at 12. That should be fine. I'm just going to hit test and it's going to cut us out a little like square. And then you can just use these buttons here to move your design out of your mat. And I'll move you over so you can see the weeding. So there's a little square with a circle right here for a test cut. So let's see how it cut on that force and that speed. And again, we're going to check and see if it seems like it cut a little too deep. Now, honestly, I'm fine with that little bit of an indent for this permanent vinyl, but you will want to really check it out and see. I think that actually worked really, really well. I have no indent this time. So I think what I need to do is go back over to the settings and just change that setting so that it's actually a force of 10. I think the 10 is going to work a little bit better than the 20 that we had it set to. If you are trying to figure out a cut, I really recommend using the little test cut. And I'll do another test cut for you guys, and I'll turn the force way up on this one. Let me go ahead and move everything over a little bit so that it won't cut in the same spot. And I'm going to turn the force up quite a bit. And let's see what happens. I'm going to go ahead and turn it up to like 30. Let's do like 30 and see what happens. Ready? And let's go ahead and unload, and let's take a look at that cut, because this is going to be where you're going to kind of play with it and figure out what cut works best and what really makes you happy. It's still weeding really well, which is nice, but I think it may cut a little deep because I can see the circle, the center circle in the backing. So let me pop this off of the mat, and you can see that you have, look how deep that cut. See? So deep. Like, that's way too deep. So 10 is a great setting for permanent vinyl. So again, that's a great way that you can start to check kind of your test cut settings. So let's say we wanted to test it again, and let's say that this time we're going to use, let's move our mat up a little bit, and let's move this guy over. This is the thing, you really need to make sure that you're paying attention to where your blade is when you're doing these test cuts. So let's go ahead and turn our test cut down to like 5, and then let's test. Let's see what happens if we cut it at a 5. And then we're going to go ahead and again unload a little bit so we can get to where it cut. And let's take a look and see what 5 did. I feel like 5 didn't even cut through. Oh, it did, but it's bad. Oh, it's bad. So 5 didn't even let the circle, can you see this? Like, it didn't even let the circle in the center come out. I don't know how well that's going to focus for you. Let me see if I can get it to focus on that. You can see the indent of where the circle was, but it didn't cut the circle. So this is a great way to start just test cutting, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. Use a little scrap piece of vinyl, stick it on your mat, and get to playing. Figure out what works. You're going to want to do this for all of your materials to see really what works. And I do recommend doing a test cut before you start with any material, even if it's a material that you've already cut before, because your blade does tend to dull and to kind of, you know, over time, it's just not going to cut as well. So a little quick test cut before starting any cut is a great option. That way you make sure you don't waste any of your material. Thanks for joining me for Chapter 6, the cut settings for your Starcraft Solo. This is such an advanced machine that it is going to take some time to get used to, so don't fret. Don't be afraid of it. Just try. You're not going to break it. Just take your time, try your different materials, and really learn those settings. Make sure to have a notebook close by so that you can write down your cut settings that worked with your test cuts. This is a great thing to try. Just keep trying. That's the thing that I need you guys to know with this machine, is that this is not going to be a simple plug and play and go. Just take that time and really learn how to work with the machine. If you have questions, you can always leave those down in the comments down below. If I don't know the answer, I will find out. I do have a direct line to the experts, so just let me know anything you want to know and I will help you out. I hope you guys learned some great tips and tricks. Have a great day and happy crafting.